in the 90s, a lot of scripts that actually got optioned but never got made. I also put out 6 books. And then got back into the film business in around the year 2000 and really started focusing on the independent world as it was getting easier and less expensive to make films. And the digital revolution really gave us just so much more freedom. And then by the time Kickstarter started in 2009, it pretty much, the doors were just open to be able to make the films you wanted to make without having to answer to other people. And that just was perfect for me. So
I've got to ask you, back to the horror films if we can. Obviously I want to get into A Dog Named Gucci, and again, just so I'm blown away, if you don't mind my expression, the expression of an aging flower child, the work that you've done. And again, reading about you in your bio is just incredible. But talk to me about horror film, if you don't mind. I love the old horror films. I've got to tell you, the original, the Bela Lugosi Dracula, I think 1931. I hope I'm around then. They showed it on the big screen. This was a couple of months ago, and to witness that on the big screen was just, very honestly, I was with a family member who was a little ill, and we could only there for about 20 minutes. But wow, I mean, I'm so blown away by the old horror movies. Talk to me about the influence for you, Gordon Bouchard, horror films.
Well, the main influence for me really came from a combination of Hitchcock and we are now in the 80s, so it's the prime, like the whole slasher movement started, and it was sort of like trying to combine both. And the one horror film I'm probably best known for is actually a comedy, which when I described it, my way of describing it is if Woody Allen, the Marx Brothers, and Monty Python got together to make a slasher film in the 80s. And the film is called Psychos in Love, and it's really
Psychos in Love. Where can I find it? You
can go on Amazon. The DVD is readily available.
Okay.
You can also stream it on Amazon and a few other places.
Okay. Netflix?
No, not Netflix.
Okay, because I am technologically impaired, but I'm going to find someone that can find it for me, or maybe I can find it at a video store. Psychos in Love. I love that idea of having films like that are, that just sounds great. I can't wait to see it. What horror films influence you? Take me back and talk with me about growing up with horror films.
Oh, I mean, definitely Psycho was one of the ones that just, completely blew my mind as a kid, and still to this day, I think is quite possibly Hitchcock's best film, and that's from a filmmaker who's made a ridiculous number of amazing films. I also really liked some of the creepier, lesser known films. I always thought Carnival of Souls, this film from the 60s, which to me was very much the precursor to Night of the Living Dead. I always thought Carnival of Souls was one of the creepiest films I had ever seen. And then I also really did like the original, the Friday the 13th, the Halloween, all of the original of those the beginning of that whole slasher movement.
Well, and what do you think it is about that influenced you? What is it? Again, I love Psycho. I love the Hitchcock films. One of my favorites, Strangers on the Train. I just Psycho, obviously Psycho, and even the remake, because it was just like it followed the script, correct, and the scenes. But what do you think it is about that type of film for you?
I think it's just having the audience in the palm of your hand and being able to scare them. And I think it's just, it's almost like this weird audience manipulation, but it really does work.
So take me forward now. Influenced by horror films, making horror films, again, novelist, screenwriter, filmmaker. Move me forward, and then we'll get up to A Dog Named Gucci.
Well, I mean, I in the 90s, I had written the book. My first book came out in 1991, October, and we had, at this point, I had given up on the horror. I had so many bad dealings with the people who were producing horror films and never paying you and things like that. I just got fed up with it. And so I started just turning towards actually just writing. And my first book, The Second Greatest Story Ever Told, which is basically a religious satire about God sending his teenage daughter to save the world. but she's your typical teenager. She drinks, she smokes, she has sex, but she just happens to be Christ's kid sister, so she can get away with it. And basically everyone has to listen to her. So I've really said it in 1988. I mean, when Reagan's president, the Berlin Wall is coming down. It's really sort of a take on that part in history. If someone came down and said, we're really screwing everything up and we need to, take care of the planet and be kind to one another. That's the whole message of the book, is just be kind. That really sort of took off. I mean, it did really well. We sold, I optioned the movie rights for that 6 different times, never got made. Wrote a couple other books during that decade, did a lot of script work, but again, nothing ever gets made. I was doing well money-wise, but it was unfulfilling in that I wanted to see some of these things make it onto the big screen. So we get to around the year 2000, I decided I'm going to do a short film just to sort of get back into it, but completely removing myself from the horror world, and really by now I'm like completely immersed in the whole indie art cinema. And so I do a short, and it did really well. We played film festivals all over the world, and that sort of just eventually led to me doing my first really independent feature, which was You Are Alone in the year 2004. We filmed it. It came out in 2005. And, that was on the new revolution of digital cinema cameras, which was the Panasonic DVX100A at the time, which was using these little mini DV tapes. But it still looked great when you projected it. That just led to, another film after that. And then it's probably like 2008, 2009, and someone calls me up, and a friend of mine calls me up and says, she was making this documentary on my favorite band, The Replacements. And she says she couldn't finish it, but I could. So I basically took over the film, actually started again from scratch. And that was my first documentary. Basically, I started filming in late 2009, early 2010. So basically, I was reinventing myself at the age of 50 as a documentary filmmaker, but I just stuck. I so loved it. I so loved the freedom of doing a documentary where you think you know what your story is, and then you interview someone, and it's like, wow, you didn't expect that, and everything changes. And that led to another music doc and another music doc, and I started working on a documentary on the 3 very famous pizza places here in New Haven. And my wife and I are both animal lovers, and we were, let's do something with this documentary format that can actually, have an impact on the world, make the world a better place. And A Dog Named Gucci was born.
Okay, and I want to get into that, but I've got to talk with you about The Replacements. You said I'm taking you for a lot younger than you are. Do you mind if I ask how approximately what your age is?
56.
Okay, wow. I don't know why. I mean, I guess why am I apologizing? It's complimentary.
Oh,
I guess
no,
I'm looking at you and I'm
okay.
thinking.
Yeah. A lot of times, a lot of times people say that they think that I'm a lot younger. My 4th music documentary is actually on an Ohio artist, Lydia Lovelace, who is this amazing cowpunk singer out of Columbus. And I remember I was on the road with them this summer, and the guys in her band were complaining about backaches, and I made the joke like, "Well, just wait till you hit 50." And Lydia turns to me and goes, "What do you know about being 50?" And I was like, I'm 56. And no one in the band believed that I was 56. So I guess that's a good thing.
It's a compliment. Oh my God, yeah. But let me say,
better than like, oh, I thought you were 66, so.
Yeah, let me say this to you. Wait till you hit 60. I hit 62 years ago. I'll be 63 this year. And I'm going to tell you why. The Replacements, I loved The Replacements, but again, I come from that flower child era, that hippie era, and most of my people my age, again, this isn't critical, it's more observational, just kind of stopped, at that, after that, what they were calling classic rock back then, that moving into the punk generation or whatever, The Replacements, I had a neighbor, next door neighbor, it was probably, 15 years younger than I. He loved The Replacements, and he heard me blasting it one day and couldn't believe that an old guy like me, liked The Replacements. And I love them, and I'm surprised for you. I mean, it was even, right, again, you're a bit younger, but what turned you on to the Replacements? I've got to move on to the Dog Named Gucci. I'm sorry, but I love the Replacements.
The Replacements to me. I mean, the first I went to rock and roll concerts very early. I mean, I saw Elvis Presley in 1972 at Madison Square Garden, the comeback show when he was skinny. I saw David Bowie at Carnegie Hall in 1972, the last performance of the Spiders from Mars, Ziggy Stardust. I saw Rod Stewart when they were the most drunken band on the planet in 1972, 1973. So I was going to concerts very, very young. But by the time we hit about 1975, rock and roll was dying. I mean, it had become very middle of the road, very lame, and was boring to me. Punk sort of revitalized that. Elvis Costello, The Clash. But there was nothing in America. I mean, the American bands had just like gone the way of, no offense because he passed away, but the way of the Eagles and Billy Joel. Which was not rock and roll to me. And then out of nowhere, this band comes out of, Minneapolis. Two bands come out of Minneapolis, Replacements and Husker Du, and pretty much just reinvented the way rock and roll sounded. I really do believe that they are the two most important American bands of the past 30 years, because without the Replacements and Husker Du, there's no Nirvana. None of those bands exist. I mean, every single thing comes down to what these two bands did to the rock music scene. So, so they were the most influential bands that, people have never heard of, unfortunately.
Yeah, and I agree. And again, like I say, the Replacements, and then I found I shouldn't be going on and on about the Replacements, but I found an acoustic version of some of the songs. I love them. When I saw that you did that film of the Replacements, I freaked out. I'm so eager to see that also. Ladies and gentlemen, Gorman Bechard is my guest, and you're listening to Louie B. Free Radio Show, Brain Food from the Heartland. We've got lots of links up to a dog named Gucci.com, a dog named Gucci.com. Also, Gorman Bechard, GormanBechard.com. We've got links up at LouieFreeShow.com where you can go directly to those, Facebook, Twitter, etc., linked up. Let's talk about, give me the background on your involvement with the film and how it developed, if you would, A Dog Named Gucci.
Well, honestly, we started looking for an animal project, and my wife, who's the co-producer on this film, she does all the our research and social media and stuff, and we would constantly be finding these horrible stories about animals that were abused. No one was ever caught. No one was prosecuted. The animal dies, and it was just one thing after another, and it was really just making both of us angry. And that went on for about 6 months of just looking for different stories and who could we cover. Maybe there's a few cases where the animal survives, but is the person's never caught. And we're literally about to go away. It's the day before we leave for our 20th anniversary vacation, and she sends me this email with a link, and I'm like, why are you sending this to me now? I don't want to get annoyed before I go away. I just want to relax for a week. And she goes, no, this one's got a happy ending. And I read it, and it's Gucci's story. And not only does it have a happy ending, it's got a beginning, a middle, and it's got a 3-act structure. It's got a hero. I mean, it's Rocky for dogs. And, I mean, everything about the story just screams movie. So I immediately contacted Doug James, and by literally the day we land, we're on vacation the next day, and I'm already setting up the interviews with him for a few months later, and we started filming 2 months after that.
So what is it about animals for you? I mean, my audience certainly knows I talk a lot about an animal adorer, lover. For you, where did it come from? Mm-hmm. I'm always interested in where it comes from with people. Where do you think it comes from?
I mean, I think a lot of Gucci grew out of our love for our own rescue dogs, to be honest with you. I mean, just having dogs in the house. I mean, when we bought our house, one of the big things for us was that it had to have a fenced-in backyard. And, I mean, weeks later, we have a little pup running around, and at one point we had, 3 large labs. So we've always had, dogs in our lives. And I think it's just that connection. I mean, I always joke, I like dogs more than people, but I don't know that it's that much of a joke. I mean, I truly relate to dogs.
Yeah.
And, and so it's very much, it's just very much something that we're both very passionate about.
And but don't know, and where it comes from, and Gorman, when you say that about you like them better than people, I mean, I feel the love from an animal, is something, they have unconditional love. We can only aspire.
Oh,
we only aspire to it. I believe. Your thoughts?
Absolutely. And I mean, here I am talking to you right now, and our dog Springsteen is literally, lying at my feet upstairs here in my office. Oh
my God, that's got to be great. That's got to, would love that. You got to send, I was going to ask you to send a picture. That's terrible. I shouldn't ask you that. So talk about more about making the film. How you approaching it. I want to talk about Nitro. I want to talk about, Liz and Tom, who, going to do a call with me later, are going to be in studio with me Friday. Talk with me about more about the film, if you would.
Well, the film just sort of it came together very quickly. Like I said, there really was a story there. I think the biggest thing was just getting everybody. And we talked to virtually everybody, including the runaway girl who was 15 at the time, who had owned Gucci. But then we started thinking, I wanted to show other examples of this, which actually does bring us to Liz and Tom and Nitro. And we found 3 other great examples, and one was a dog named Susie in Greensboro, North Carolina, where a very similar thing happened. The dog was burned, the dog was adopted, and after the person got a slap on the wrist, they passed a law. They passed the first felony abuse law in North Carolina. Obviously, Liz and Tom, where their dog, died a horrible, tragic death. And they worked for 5 years to pass the laws. When the guy who did it got virtually, just nothing. Really minor slap on the wrist. Yeah. They worked for 5 years, to get the law passed. And the other example is a dog named Louis Vuitton, who was named in honor of Gucci. And Louis was the first dog, Louis' abuser was the first time the Gucci law was tested, and the guy got 10 years, which was, a nice change.
So, talk with me about Liz and Tom. I mean, they blow me away a little bit more, because I'll tell you, Gorman, when they were first in studio with me, and every time to ask them to, I always felt a pain to just even ask them to. And I hate to use this, tell Nitro's story. Still today, I know it's inconceivable how you deal with that pain. I don't think I could have been as strong as them. I mean, coming to, at that time I was broadcasting a block and a half from the city courthouse, and they would come in and they would drive in from New York. And again, talk about tireless, just amazing people. A little bit more about your relationship with them, if you would.
Well, honestly, it's like, we were talking to. We were talking about, what other dogs, and there was just something about Nitro's story that spoke to us, and we reached out, and we had this one truly amazing interview with the two of them. And when you watch the film, Tom especially, it will break your heart in the film, because it's such a tragic story. So, but I think it's also. It's also a story that further proves, though, how we need to be the voice for animals and how we actually have the power to do something.
And I agree. We have got to be their voice. We have got to be their voice for those that can't. As I always said, for those that can't speak for themselves. And I know you also. We've got to speak for those who can't speak for themselves. For these amazing creatures that show us just. An unconditional love. I don't think anyone isn't touched by some of what they see. Even some, I've got to say, it seems like the advertising world, and Gorman Bouchard, you know more about this than I as a filmmaker, but they touch your heart. Be it even the Amazon. I mean, I can't believe I tear up at an Amazon.com commercial with the little horse, the little man. They have the song. I'm sure you've seen it. or maybe you haven't, that they've got a little horse, like a miniature horse, that seems to be rejected by the big horses, and she orders, of course, on Amazon, a little door that the dog can come in and get, the horse can come in and get pets. I mean, we see the articles with the dogs and the older dogs and how the dog, for car ads. I mean, I can't believe I tear up at an ad for a car when they showed the dog.
The Subaru ads are amazing.
Yes. Oh my God. They're and they touch. There's a place that they touch, because I think it's up to, like you say, to speak for them that cannot speak for themselves. It touches us when we see that kind of love and compassion.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I want to talk more about the film, ladies and gentlemen. The film, A Dog Named Gucci. And again, folks, as I've been saying, please, it will be in Columbus. For those listening out of the area, Thursday, tomorrow, 7 p.m. It will benefit Peace for Paws, Ohio, and Pet Promise, Studio 35 at 3055 Indianola Avenue in Columbus. Friday here, Boardman Movies 8 on Boardman Poland Road will benefit Animal Charity of Ohio and Legacy Dog Rescue. 7 p.m., Boardman Movies 8. And I know Liz and Tom, Nitro's parents, are going to be there, as they will be in Columbus tomorrow and Sunday in Amherst, January 24th at 11:30 a.m. at the Amherst Cinema on Church Street. And again, all that information is up at adognamegucci.com, adognamegucci.com. I've got it at LouieBFree1, at Vindy.com. I am talking with the A Dog Named Gucci's producer, editor, writer, director, Gorman LouieBFree1, now on Brain Food from the Heartland, the Louie B. Free radio show. When you put together, as a guy that feels so deeply as you do, has got as much heart as you do, how difficult is it to, again, you talk about Tom, and I know both of them, and hearing Tom and Liz, but hearing Tom, as a man, I guess, when I hear Tom tell that story, because Tom comes off like, I've got to say, like a tough guy. He's a strong guy.
Absolutely.
He's not he's and to hear him, just when I give him a hug, just to feel him, he's just so. He feels so deeply, and again, I think of our on-air and off-air conversations over the years. That is, to hear a guy like that and hear him get emotional, and then thinking about what happened to Nitro. How was that for you? I mean, because you got to be professional. I mean, you're filming it, you're editing it.
That's funny you should ask that, because so we're interviewing Tom, and it's me and my sound girl, Taryn, and Tom is telling the story, and when he gets to the point of that first time he saw Nitro dead, I'm not joking, there was silence in the room, and if you were to listen to the real audio, like from the original filming, me and Taryn are sobbing. It was like silence for 30 seconds. It was because it was so emotional. You couldn't help. You didn't know what to say. It was like one of those moments that that's why I love documentaries. You don't expect this. And it really is, in the film, one of the most gut-wrenching things, because you don't expect Tom to break down. And when he does, it just tears your heart apart.
Yeah, again, because you see, like I say, you see him and you meet, and I'm sure it was the same when you met him. Here's East Coast. Here's a guy from New York. Again, I don't mean a tough guy in a bad way, but here's a man. Not a crier like myself. Not a crier like myself. Not a
right.
Here's,
right. And
I like
think
this
that
guy.
It completely breaks your heart. It really does. And it shows the emotional attachment we all have with our animals.
Yeah, and still today.
Yeah. I mean, my God, there have been dogs that I've had. I mean, I remember when our dog, our second dog was named Kilgore Trout, and one of the most obnoxious dogs you will ever see on this planet. And I'm not joking, though. When he got sick, I say this completely honestly, and I mean this. There are family members at that point in my life that I would have traded. Okay, take the family member and give me another year with Kilgore. I would have not hesitated. I would have gladly gone to their funerals, been very nice. I wouldn't Kilgore was much more of a friend to me than some of these people in my family. So
yeah, I hear you. Believe me,
that might sound cold, but it's like I don't know that I care. I think that there was that kind of a bond, and I understand that completely.
You know, it's interesting when you say that, ladies and gentlemen, talking with Gorman Bechard, Bechard, novelist, screenwriter, filmmaker, and the guy behind A Dog Named Gucci. We've got the schedule up at LouieBFree1.com, or just go to adognamegucci.com. We've got links up to Gorman's site, etc. But I've got to say, I remember when I was... I don't know. I get my audience says in exile when I had been quickly fired from 3 radio stations in this area for taking on a political icon who was a mob-connected, corrupt congressman. All that being said, I remember saying, I had a 90-minute drive every morning, and my wife and I had dogs and cats over the years, and for some reason, a number of years ago, took in rescued some rabbits, and when the first rabbit died, I remember saying on air, I cried more when this rabbit died than when my mom died from a horrible, from leukemia. I mean, and people were outraged by it. And when I explained it more, I mean, you can communicate. For one, the rabbit was warmer than my mom. Was more loving than my mom, and but I should I had a good relationship with my mom, but the you can't communicate in the same way. You can't talk with it. My mom had a long life and knew she was passing, and just the as when dogs and cats die. So I hear exactly, Gorman, what you're saying when you talk about a few more years. If we could only keep them, if they can only stay with us a little bit longer, because they give so much.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's just it, and virtually expect nothing in return other than for you to give them food.
Yeah, well, and see them, love them back. I mean, you're right. They don't, they don't ask. I'm sorry, I interrupted you. You're right to give them food. Go ahead about the love of an animal.
No, I mean, but that is just it. I mean, it's it really, that is what it comes down to. That you think about, like, what does the animal want? The animal just wants your attention and to be taken care of. And I think it's like, I don't think I think the animal loves you so much. Like, even whether you are living in a 1-room apartment, a 50-room mansion, it doesn't make any difference. The dog just wants to be with you.
Yeah, that's it, and doesn't care. Doesn't if they're in the car with you. They don't care if it's a nice car, it's a crappy car. They don't care if you washed your hair today or didn't wash your hair.
Right.
If you're dolled up or not dolled up. If you're, I mean, just it's this the essence of love. I mean, I think we as humans put so much more on it. When you think about your career, and again, fascinating, novelist, screenwriter, filmmaker, doing the rock docs, as you've done, the meaning. This is a terrible word. The meaningfulness of A Dog Named Gucci. Talk with me about that, Gorman. But what this means to you.
I think for me, it really was trying to, like, do something positive for the world. I mean, I think the rock docs and the narrative features, they're positive because they entertain people, and they make people happy. But I feel with Gucci, we have the ability to educate people. And one of the things I do want to say, because I know there's been like controversy about this a little bit. People are always saying, "Well, I'm afraid I can't watch that." Gucci does not have any horrific imagery in it. There are no beaten, bloodied shots, nothing like that. When you cry in A Dog Named Gucci, it's strictly because you're hearing stories, and there's an emotional response. And and when you cry about Gucci in the film, you do not cry about what happened to him as a puppy. You cry when he passes of old age at 16 because you've fallen in love with him like he's your dog. That's when you'll get tears about Gucci's story. And I very much did that on purpose. I wanted to keep the crimes very matter of fact. This is what happened. It's like you're hearing a reading in court almost, because I don't want people to turn away. I want people to like go into this and come out invigorated, which is sort of the point of the film. It's like I want to show people that, one, they need to be the voice for animals. Animals, if a dog is locked in a car, it can't pick up a cell phone and say, "Hey, will you come get me out of here? I'm dying." You need to be there. You need to call the police. Oh, and if the police don't come, I hate saying it, you need to break the window.
I'm with you. No, I'm with
and
you.
just film it and put it on YouTube, and no one's going to throw you in jail. Trust me. You need to. If you see a dog being abused, if you see, a dog on a chain out in the cold in the middle of winter, pick up the phone. You're saving a life. If you get something on your Facebook page, it's sometimes as simple as that. Share the page with other friends who care. And I think it's just that's becoming that voice for animals. I mean, Doug James showed that he's in Alabama, which has a bad rap as it is, but he's in Alabama in 1994 and works for 6 years and changes a law to make it a felony offense to abuse a domestic animal. And and Liz and Tom did the same thing. Donna Lawrence did the same thing in North Carolina. And I think that, you can do what you do to save animals can be anything from sharing a Facebook page to working, and changing a law and anything in between. But we need to do that. If we want to see change, if we want to stop seeing these horrible pictures, on ASPCA ads, if we want to stop seeing these horrible pictures on Facebook, we are the ones who need to do it, because the animals can't. They look to us. That's my soapbox.
No, that's good, because I am talking with the guy behind A Dog Named Gucci, adognamegucci.com. Again, Thursday, Friday, and this weekend in Amherst. And again, I've got all that information up at, of course, it's at adognamegucci.com or LouieBFree1 or Vindy.com, the Vindicator site.
By the way,
go ahead.
Louie, by the way, I will be also there tomorrow night at the Columbus. Right?
Oh, you'll be in Columbus. Okay.
I will be in Columbus, yes.
Oh, that's...
And then I'll get home just in time, hopefully, for the blizzard we're supposed to have here in Connecticut on the weekend.
It's coming again. Yeah, I hear you. It's coming again. I've got to say that when you say that about the ads, and I agree. I know my wife and I mean, if we hear the music starting, whoever screams, turn that, turn that, you gotta immediately.
A Dog Named Gucci is not like that.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that.
Need to be turned away.
I'm glad you said that, because again, because there are people that just don't want to see it. But I also agree with you, and I always say it on the show. You see a dog out, if you can't, call the police, and call them, because you know what? If our lawmakers don't have the sense of decency or succumb to lobbying efforts or whatever, and won't change the laws and won't make the law strict, maybe the police unions and the firemen unions can. Maybe they can. Maybe they'll do it and call the police. It's not a crime to call the police and report that.
No.
And you do it. And I agree with you. Break the window if you can't. What would you do if there was a child in there? You wouldn't stand idly by. If someone, we had a situation, Gorman, where this guy beat his girlfriend's son to death, had made him, and then we learned the hell and horror. He had this kid stand outside until his feet were frostbitten. I mean, and people are horrified by that. Well, what about the dog that's chained outside? Someone tell me, what's the difference? It's a life. It's a loving, compassionate life. I'm sorry. I
agree with you completely. I mean, I've had my wife doesn't want to go with me to our local Costco in the summer, because inevitably every time I go there, I see someone's dog in a car. So I immediately go inside, have them do it over the loudspeaker. Then I call the cops. And the woman I always have the same conversation. She says, "Is the window open?" And it's like, it's open an inch, and it's 90 degrees, and we know what that's like. And and she says, "Well, that's enough." I said, "Look," "here are your choices. You send the cops, or I'm breaking the window." She says, "You break the window, I'm putting you in jail." I was like, "I don't care."
Yeah, I'm with you.
Send the cops.
and you're right.
My feeling is right now, if they're going to go through that, it's going to become a film. So go for it. We all have a camera in our pockets nowadays. That is, look at what's happened over the past year with how the police have had to take a step back and really watch, and really follow the letter of the law, as they should anyway. We all have cameras in our pockets. Those cameras can help animals just as much as they can help humans.
I agree with you. I've got someone that absolutely, just if you don't mind, Gorman, wants to say hello to you. Caller, go ahead.
Okay.
Caller? Liz? Well, I don't know what happened to her.
Okay.
Liz, you're there, sweetie? I know I don't know if she can't hear me or not. So maybe I don't know, try back. Now it blew the surprise. It was Liz. Liz is trying to call in.
Yeah. I haven't talked to Liz in a while, but hopefully I'll see her tomorrow night in Columbus.
So much. Well, that backfired. Now, but again, so what are your hopes from the reaction of the audience is what? What's your hope from the film A Dog Named Gucci? Tell me.
Honestly, I think I just sort of what I said, where I just hope they walk away from it realizing that they have the power in their hands. I mean, that's what you should walk away from Gucci with. That this is, and also I think probably, I mean, for people like Liz and Tom and me, we know how much this is happening. I think the other big thing is to open people's eyes as to really how much this happens on a daily basis in this country. There are close to 1 million cases of domestic animal abuse in this country annually. 1 million. I can't even do the math as to how many a day that is. And I mean, the percentage that's actually prosecuted is minuscule.
Liz, are you there?
Hi.
Gorman? Oh, are you kidding me? And I lost him? Oh, Liz, I'm freaking out, sweetie. Oh God, this is a nightmare. Let me see if I can. Hold on, darling. Let me see if I can get him back. Oh God, this is a nightmare. I was hoping for it to be a surprise, and then and now I lost Gorman. So just bear with me, sweetie. Let me see.
Okay.
Let me see if I can get him back. Hold on, and let me see if this works. Oh, you know what? Maybe this will work. Wait a minute. Hold on. Stay with me.
Okay.
Boy. No, I don't know, sweetie. I'm having a problem adding him. So let me stay with me. This is awful, but bear with me. Let's see. I don't know. I can't figure it out. So let me. Wait a minute. You still there, Liz? No, I lost Liz.
I think we got disconnected.
I lost. I'm having a terrible time getting this together. When I'm adding her, and I don't know. I'm losing you. So let me see if I can get her one more time.
Okay.
So again, tomorrow you'll be there. I'm sorry, this is a nightmare for me live on air. But again, you're hoping that what? That people will.
I'm hoping that it opens people's eyes as to how much this happens on a daily basis. That there are close to 1 million cases of domestic animal abuse in the United States every year, and a small number of those cases are prosecuted, like a minuscule amount. And even though we now have felony abuse laws in every state, we need to make sure that the cops take it seriously, that prosecutors take it seriously, and the judges. The laws are useless if those people aren't going to, use them. And I think what we need to point to is that the FBI is now tracking animal abuse as a violent crime along with rape, murder, arson, etc. And if the FBI is going to take it seriously, all law enforcement, all prosecutors, all judges should as well, because let's face it, we know for a fact that animal abuse is a first step towards something much worse.
Well, stay with me and listen to this.
Mike Farrell. We hear a lot about youth violence today, what's causing it, how to stop it. We now know that people who do violence to others...
Hold on, I may have... Liz? Mm-hmm. Liz? Oh, please tell me you're there.
...often begin by abusing animals.
No, I don't know.
Animal cruelty is serious business with serious consequences for all of us. If you see an adult or a child hurting an animal, please report it to the proper authorities immediately. A child who abuses an animal is often himself abused, and the cycle must stop. For more information, contact People for the Ethical Treatment of Animals.
757-622-PETA.
Again, Ingrid Newkirk sent me that from PETA. That's talking about youth violence. We know that. We've known that for years. And finally, as you say, the FBI is recognizing it, Gorman Bouchard, and finally, and if it's important to the feds, it ought to be important to all of us, right?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
So again, I want to tell you, I'm sorry about this with trying to get Liz through.
Oh, no problem.
Dialing through while they're on the road to Columbus, and I'm just so honored to have you on, because this is just the fact that you did this film, the fact that you took the time, that you raised the money, that you brought this forward, and again, so that the story can be told, and finally that story can get the recognition that it deserves, and hopefully then others will see what they can do. I just think I'm going to try one more time. Let's just try it. I'm going to try one more time. Liz, why can't I hear? Okay, I'm so honored. And again, I'm sorry for this nightmare. I'm just so honored.
No problem. Trust me, we all have technical difficulties with electronics.
Yeah, but they don't. Most of them don't happen live. That's the difference. You get to edit them out.
That is true. Okay.
The humiliation is awful. I'm so honored to have you, and I want to thank you, not just for being on with me, but for this incredible work you did. And I hope people will come out and support this film and get this film out there and share, like you say, tweet these, Facebook them, share them, and of course do the right thing. Correct?
Right. Absolutely. And thank you very much for taking the time.
I'm honored to have you. We're going to go into the replacements. Thank you. Thanks so much. Honored to have you.
Have a good one. Bye-bye.